All right. Welcome back to Kill the Computer. My name is Caleb. As every week, we are joined by my co-host, Juniper. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
And we've got a special guest this week. You know him, you love him, the smiling man himself, Ed Zitron. I think we are firmly in the era of smiles,
yes,
as evidenced by your most recent reporting.
Yes.
Do you want to give us a little TLDR there?
OpenAI spent $34 billion to make $13 billion. This company burns money by the bucket load. They have spent $19 billion on research and development, which suggests their trading costs and probably their engineering costs are spiraling. And also $5.73 billion on sales and marketing. And
yeah, I heard somewhere, and I don't know if this is true, maybe you know, but the comparison is insane. It's like that's more than Coca-Cola spends on advertising.
Yes, Coca-Cola spends about $5 billion a year. I actually been working on my premium piece today because the pushback I've got on this is because the cost of revenue was lower than the revenue. People are saying, oh, they're profitable in inference. Not so fast there. This sales and marketing cost is very weird because when you go and look at what they could possibly be spending it on, it's not very obvious because they only started really doing their first major media campaign was September 2025. They don't appear to do much advertising in general. Anthropic does a shit ton of influencer marketing, OpenAI far less. And also they had a $500 million sales and marketing charge through Microsoft. I think OpenAI is hiding their inference costs for certain things in the sales and marketing budget. Partly because they're not the only ones to do that. They're not the only, like Zipu and Minimax, the two Chinese AI companies that are listed publicly, and they do exactly the same thing. Their sales and marketing costs balloon every quarter and every year. So what's funny about this, though, is this company is unprofitable if you remove training. The big thing that people are saying is if they stop training, they would be fine. Actually, no. They lose billions and billions of dollars, and this is before stock-based compensation, this is before any other tax stuff. They burn several $1 billion because of sales and marketing and general administrative costs, so $1.57 billion on people.
That's also sort of an insane qualifier to add there is that, hey, if we just take out the research and development, they'll be profitable because like
They're
know
not,
that's like never going to happen. That's not how this like tech world functions. There is never a point where a tech company is like, okay, and we're done. That just doesn't happen. Apps and everything like they're endlessly changing, they're endlessly working on them. There is always research and development in the tech world, especially like under capitalism. They always have to like do air quote innovation, so that's always going to happen.
The other thing with AI labs is they have to train because that's how they make the models better, and that's not just pre-trainings in shoving data into them. They have to constantly add stuff to them. They have to constantly do post-training, so improving the model responses. And yeah, even if you remove training, by the way, they lose $1.73 billion, and that's before other costs. They also do some really bizarre shit in here that I've yet to dig into. I'm going to in future episodes, where they just, in 2024, they just take $3.7 billion and go, actually, that's someone else's company. That's another company. They're just like, yeah, it's not actually our cost. I don't know what it means. I truly don't.
Oh.
Yeah,
so
really,
even in the Financial Times, nobody could actually figure out like what these. That's a lot of fucking money to be clear.
$3.74 billion of losses when marked as net loss attributable to non-controlling members' capital. Now, I've had multiple different people contact me, and that was in 2024. Multiple people contact me saying that means that they're using a subsidiary. They're using a subsidiary that they're just like, these losses don't count. Now, to be clear, OpenAI lost that money. That money was spent. Like, it's not like the money wasn't spent. They just were like, yeah, it's not our problem. And it's crazy because this person familiar, who I truly don't know who they are, but if you're listening, fuck you, told the FT that actually only $8 billion of losses counted. They only lost $8 billion in 2025. To be clear, they lost $20.92 billion, which is a lot different.
Yeah, I was going to ask what the discrepancy was there, because it seemed like
just bullshit. Like, I'm not going to dance around it. It's just OpenAI is doing some loopy accounting bullshit Having seen these numbers, having seen the actual financials, I can tell you that money was spent, that money was lost. You can move numbers around a spreadsheet all you want. You didn't lose $8 billion. You lost nearly $21 billion. And the losses are just increasing. It's fucking crazy.
I mean, the rate of loss between 2024 and 2025 is sort of unbelievable. Like, it's when I saw a lot of people's response to your piece, a lot of people are like, oh, wow, actually, this is not nearly as bad as you've been saying about OpenAI. Actually, Ed was wrong the whole time. And it's like, OK, but how do you explain this like massive the massive increase of loss for OpenAI? Look, the responses have been, I feel like, I'll be honest, sort of delusional from a lot of these people that are trying to find a silver lining here.
We've all been in bad relationships where we take every single sign that things are going well as a positive. The fact they didn't text back one night when they were going out with their gym trainer, that was just because they care about their fitness.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
You got to be consistent. Yeah.
It's the kind of delusion that you only grasp onto when you don't have anything real. And reading these numbers, I knew that this was going to happen. I knew that when the FT posted that comment, people were going to use this to grasp. And that's why OpenAI, I assume it's someone from OpenAI who responded. I truly do not know. This is just my guess, who gave them that comment. But also note that the FT buried it at the bottom of the piece. If that was something that I think they were taking particularly seriously, it would be at the top. But yeah, the actual on-paper losses were still $38.5 billion, but the number I'm sticking everyone with is this $20.92 billion loss from operations. It's fucking insane. My other favorite cope thing I've seen, though, is people like, the losses aren't as bad as they were in 2024. That proves that they're going to become profitable. It's like, no, it doesn't. What are you talking? Their sales and marketing costs increased 400%. What are you fucking talking about? And the answer is that AI does not have really any foundational strength within their economics. It's only kept alive by people who are just like, yeah, actually losing $21 billion is good.
Doesn't seem very good.
It's actually good. They did that. I saw my favorite post about it was someone who immediately quoted it and said, yeah, actually, this is exactly what I expected.
I saw somebody that said that, and they were a developer, or there was some sort of engineer at Anthropic. They're like, yeah, this makes sense to me. And I'm like, what? You shouldn't be saying that. Like, what?
Looks good to me.
I expect it.
And all of this for OpenAI, I feel like unless they completely, like, they change the game, they have like a new thing to offer, like a new product that's not just OpenAI, they're losing market share. Like, I believe I just saw a statistic yesterday where they dropped below 50% of overall AI use, which you don't really want to see that if you're them. If you're
especially when you're spending more on marketing than Coca-Cola.
Yeah, and it's especially if they have hit their peak already in terms of user base, and they're still not even anywhere close to profitable. Like that, I don't know, man. That seems fucking bad for them.
Can I ask a really dumb question?
No dumb questions with stuff like this. No, please.
Okay. We've talked about this creative accounting, we'll say, these subsidiaries. Some of this may be, this marketing may be covering up losses and so on and so on. They have privately filed their S1. I believe it's still private. It comes public soon. I don't know how this works. I know that we're going to learn some things. What are we going to learn from this S1? And then I just wonder what, retail investors and the SEC and all these people are going to be thinking when we're staring down the barrel of, 20 point, whatever your number is, billions in losses. I understand that they have like 50 billion in assets, apparently, and half of that is cash, fine. But if you blew through half of your, roughly half of your assets in a single year, doesn't that, what are we going to learn and what's going to happen when this goes public, and when does that happen?
So, unclear. I must be clear. These numbers are terrible, but also their S1 is going to be an attempt to put lipstick on a pig. So we are going to see some of the wackiest shit in this S1 that you've ever seen in your life. They're probably going to have a WeWork style, like, community adjusted EBITDA, which is just a crazy thing that WeWork did to pretend that they were profitable when they were losing hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I imagine that OpenAI does that, but they're also going to have to define these segments. They're going to have to do some definitions. And the thing is, it's unclear when they'll go public. It's unclear what price they'll go public at. I saw a report a few weeks ago saying they'd go public at $852 billion, which is the valuation they raised privately. If that happens, that's really fucking bad. That's just a sign that they don't think that they'll get more than their last private round. But also, everyone keeps comparing SpaceX to this, which is, we're recording this, so I don't know where it will be when this comes out, but it's been quite down today. It's been there was some quite heavy dumping going on. The chart looks weird. It's got a big red
10% down today. Yeah.
Ooh. And the thing is, I must be clear, SpaceX is a fundamentally more sound business than either of OpenAI.
As much as I hate Elon, he does launch satellite. He does stuff. You know what I mean?
There are rockets.
Starlink.
A lot of them blow up, but they do have Starlink.
Which is something that's real. That is a real thing.
And X the Everything app, twitter.com, has it's still there. It sucks, but we use it. It loses billions of dollars because of the whole Grok thing, the CSAM generator or whatever it does.
Yeah.
And
Grok is really important. You just don't get
riots and shit.
Yeah. And so, but SpaceX, which loses billions of dollars, is a better business than OpenAI. Because remember, this company, and I say this, Evan, there's far more information than I've talked about. Rabbit hole, go further, I promise. There is a lot of stuff in their balance sheet that doesn't really make, like, they've just got like billions in goodwill. Unclear what that could possibly mean. But they don't really have like assets. They have a bunch of marketable securities for whatever reason, but it's not like they own property. Very little actual PPE, so they don't own their GPUs. They don't really have assets. Don't really have a ton of IP other than that which Microsoft also has access to. So it's kind of like unclear what it is you are buying into when you invest in OpenAI. On top of that, well, a few weeks ago, Sam Altman said that it was, what was it? A huge, let's see, I want to pull this up. A huge issue, how much his services cost, that his customers had told him it's a huge issue. And to explain what that means, a few months ago, so when you use ChatGPT or Claude, you pay like $20, $100, $200 a month, and you can burn, I shit you not, $200 a month, you can burn $8,000 on Claude and $14,000 worth of tokens on OpenAI.
That's fucking crazy.
It's
and like
so
this
cool.
is not getting cheap. One of the things in response that I saw people say to your report here is that, oh, it's going to get cheaper. It's going to get cheaper. Oh, it's like, just trust. It has to get cheaper. Is there any indication of that at all? That
No.
like any of this is getting cheaper, like as token usage increases?
No. Like, that's the thing. No, it really isn't. And indeed...
The existing data seems to indicate the opposite, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
And these people, their cope is like, well, they went from burning 230% to 180%, and both of those are negative numbers. It's just like, it's like, yeah, awesome. We're like negative 180% margins. Yay.
Another dumb question here.
Yeah.
How much of we have, so let's talk about data centers for a second is what I'm getting at. The hardware, they have to start replacing a lot of this stuff, and they seem to be lagging significantly behind on building the infrastructure that they're supposed to be. And so you're talking about two things that are happening. They're not scaling at the level that they initially had sort of promised or expected. And then on top of that, we have this aging hardware that in the next couple of years, they're going to have to spend an astronomical amount of money on. Do you know ballpark what these figures are?
Well,
and do we know anything about these data centers?
This is another problem. OpenAI doesn't own anything. OpenAI doesn't own any of this infrastructure. So those are problems, but they're someone else's problems, which means that if someone else,
I believe,
CoreWeave, well, it's
Largely.
CoreWeave, it's Microsoft, Cerberus, Oracle. Like, this could kill Oracle. That's a very important and fun story.
God, I hope so.
I can tell you why in a minute. No, this is principally Oracle, Microsoft, Google to an extent, CoreWeave, Cerberus. There are a bunch of partners, but here's the thing. That means that their ability to grow their infrastructure is largely dependent on whether other people are willing to spend the money or can spend the money. For example, Oracle is spending somewhere in the region of $340 billion to build data centers for OpenAI, right? Oracle is doing that by raising hundreds of billions of dollars of debt, which they will only be able to pay back if OpenAI can pay them. And they have a $300 billion contract, which is meant to start next year. And not really clear how OpenAI will pay that. But if Oracle has any trouble building those data centers, OpenAI will not be able to pay them, and Oracle will still have the debt, and everything falls apart. In fact, there's lots of parts of this which just come down to, yeah, if OpenAI can't pay someone, they run out of money. And that is actually pretty much across the whole industry. Like, it's pretty much all of their partners are dependent on OpenAI's continued ability to pay them when OpenAI only ever loses money.
So their only actual asset seems to be these models that are not necessarily make close enough to interchangeable with Anthropics and Grok and whatever else the other ones are.
Yes. I mean, like, it's that they have the IP behind those, and that's really it.
The thing I've been thinking about a lot recently, especially as your piece came out and a lot of like the numbers are not looking good, a lot of the data centers aren't seemingly being built, is like, if like, what is any, like, OpenAI, of course, but what are any of the AI companies' end goals? Because obviously these companies are not bringing in money. They're not profitable. Are they just like hoping to be picked up by the government? Are they just sort of like, hey, the government can subsidize all of this forever? Are they just racing to be government not companies,
OpenAI
but like,
says they're going to be profitable by 2029.
Wink.
Which wink, right? But like, Jim's question is extremely valid. What
is this? What are we doing? Is this just going to be chatbots forever? Because there have been people like I don't know if it was Elon Musk, but some of these people are like, oh yeah, like once we get good enough, we're going to be in a post money society. We're going to have super abundance. We're going to have like all of this. Yeah, and it's like, well, that doesn't seem to be what the actual goal here is. Like, I feel like you're pitching yourself as that. Like, of course, I think they're lying, but like, what is the actual fucking goal here? Chatbots?
I need to be clear about something. These people do not have a plan.
No, I don't think so.
They actually do not have a plan. People are like, oh, OpenAI's plan is to do this. Oh, OpenAI's plan is to do that. OpenAI is the secret plan. The reason that they're losing all the money is because they have a big fucking secret, but they don't. They don't have a single fucking plan. The reason that they keep randomly discounting, so they're talking about doing price cuts as well, which is great. Mm-hmm. But they don't have a plan. Like, no one has a plan. The reason they keep changing path is because they don't have a plan. Like, there's so many things that could be answered with, they don't have a plan. So I actually really need to like frame what the real problem is, though. So Anthropic and OpenAI, they have seen some amount of growth since the beginning of the year because they took organizations from those subsidized subscriptions. So pay $200 a month, you could burn $8,000, $14,000 worth of tokens in a month. Wow, how crazy. Seems good, right? Well, sometime earlier in the year, it's kind of unclear. It was announced, like, people started reporting it in April, but I think it was months before that. They moved the enterprise customers, so anyone over 150 employees, to token-based billing. So instead of getting however much tokens you can burn, you're able to burn as much as you can pay for. The problem with that is that organizations had not been training anyone to actually monitor their token spend. They've just been like, use AI as much as humanly possible, you dumb fuck. You stupid bastard motherfucker.
You'll get fired if you don't use
exactly.
AI.
If we don't see you use AI, if we don't see you using AI every day, we're going to shoot you in the skull. You're going to be dead by dawn. However, the problem is
crucified in front of McDonald's.
Exactly. Now, the problem with that is that they trained everyone to use AI as much as possible and suddenly had to pay the costs. And then within a few months, everyone started freaking out. Uber's CTO said they were spending they spent their entire AI token budget for the year in 4 months. Also bad. Also very bad.
So bad.
And then their COO, Andrew McDonald, said, yeah, it's getting harder to justify the token spend because there's no real way to tie it to a return on investment. And this opened up the conversation with the entire tech industry, where everyone is just like, we no idea how to measure the return on investment here. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't actually know what's going on here. I don't know why we're doing this.
And isn't that the entire path for like companies like OpenAI, where they're getting these large companies to sort of like buy into the AI and like continue to increase their usage of them? Like,
it's
if a lot of companies are
the only
already,
path.
yeah, and they're already within months of this change backing off.
No, they quite literally need this to happen. They cannot slow down.
Yeah.
They have made, between Anthropic and OpenAI, they've made over $1.1 trillion worth of compute commitments.
And I think it's notable that Uber is one of those first companies to do that, because like they're a famous example of just being loss leaders before they got to where they are these days. Like they operated at a loss for so long, which is a lot. People bring up Uber when talking about AI. It's like, well, Uber is this great example of a company that was, and Amazon, of course, where they were loss leaders until they became profitable. And it's like, well, okay, but Uber's saying right now, like, hey, this is not good. They're the ones.
When Uber is the one being like, we can't spend as much. And Uber, I think, is limiting people to $1,500 a month in tokens for engineers, which is still obscene. But I must be clear, even with a drop in token spend, there is still no way to measure the ROI of AI. It's actually very difficult to measure how much a task would cost, because these things hallucinate, because different coding harnesses, different models all act in different ways. A different prompt can subtly change how much something costs. And also, by the way, you pay regardless of whether you actually get what you want out of it. So if this thing goes on a fucking side quest and breaks a bunch of stuff and gets stuck in a loop and charges you $100, they're not refunding you that. But the other problem is that their growth trajectory is based on the idea that they will continually be able to charge people more. Anthropic's growth, and Anthropic does this really greasy fucking shit where they use annualized run rate, where they take the API spend from the last 4 weeks, so the amount of tokens people have been buying, they multiply it by 13, and then they take that day's number of subscribers and multiply that revenue by 12, and they say, yeah, this is our revenue, this is our annual run rate. And they said $47 billion that time. I know this sounds very difficult, but there was a customer, Axios reported, that spent $500 million in a single month on Claude by accident. By accident, because they didn't have the spending controls working. So that would count for about $6.5 billion
That's so awesome, dude.
Of annualized revenue. So just one customer's fuck up, they're able to say, yeah, our annualized revenue is this. But now both of these fuck ups, both of these companies are apparently considering price cuts. Price cuts for a product that already loses the money.
I love when a company like OpenAI gets a lot of money. Like, it's the same way. Have you ever seen children like play a phone game, an iPhone game, and accidentally, like without realizing, charge their parents' credit card? Like buy the gems. That's like what the business model for OpenAI is like accidentally charging more gems for its customers.
But that's the thing. But the thing is, you say it like you're joking. You say that, but that's actually a fairly accurate way of describing it. It's actually,
it's what it is.
It's what it is. And the thing is, people are like, well, if they cut the prices, people use it more. I don't actually think that's true. Because remember, they don't actually know how to measure the ROI. So let's say they spend millions of dollars a month and they cut that in half to just $1 million a month. Well, why would they do that if they still can't measure whether that's useful? And so, by the way, need to repeat myself here. These companies cannot slow down. They cannot afford their compute commitments, which are legally binding, if they cannot make that money. And the funny thing is they have to pay that money whether or not they need the compute or not. And so everyone's smugness comes from this place of just obfuscating revenues and also just ignorance, just totally ignoring everything that's going on in the hopes that if they ignore it for long enough, things will get better. In fact, that's kind of what OpenAI and Anthropic are doing. They're just like, yeah, you know, it's bad now. We lose billions of dollars, but what if we didn't one day? How? We don't know.
Everything in the last 2 years in particular has just been, we're in like a speculation economy. Everything is driven by the idea that one day maybe things will kind of be better. And it's like, I like, sure, maybe I guess that's like how we can operate. And it seems to work in terms of like for SpaceX in particular being like, okay, this company is worth over $1 trillion in one day. And it's like, well, that's like speculation. I don't think that's actually, like, everything is speculation. And I don't know why that works. Why are people so willing? Are they just like delusional? Do they realize that it's like, this is the only way that the only way to get money these days in the tech industry? Because it feels like, I haven't seen recently, but I remember at the start of the year, if putting aside the growth of AI companies and like Nvidia and all of that, there has been like no growth in the US economy in the last like year.
Yeah.
Is this sort of like a cope strategy to be like, things are good, things are okay, we promise?
I think it's a cope strategy, but you have to realize Elon exists in this weird vacuous hole thing where he just goes as like, SpaceX will be worth $30 trillion in 5 years. And because of the con artists and scumbags that run Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, who are all very close to Elon, he was able to get them to just pump this IPO and get various indices like the Russell 1000 to dump it into those. And, you know, but that's an Elon trick. That's not the thing is, Elon is a horrible hole in the universe, just a really nasty, nasty globular man. I hate thinking and knowing he exists. It's not great.
Yeah. But you don't think they're gonna like OpenAI if they go public and Anthropic when they go public? You don't think they're gonna have a similar effect in that capacity as Elon does?
I think you could see a burst of revenue, and then I think literally any negative story is going to start dragging them down. But that would also require them to actually go public. Like that's actually like that's a load-bearing if. It's not something that is a done deal. And I don't know, if they were in a good enough condition to go public and let everyone know, they'd have done it already. And I don't think that their story's getting better over time. But these are also, the thing is, Elon is awful, but he still owns his infrastructure. He still owns stuff. There are assets behind SpaceX. There's actual intellectual property. There are models with OpenAI and Anthropic, but that's really it. And you have open source models that are getting competitive. Putting aside how I feel about the AI bubble, on a very specific like valuation level, these companies are not particularly valuable. They have hype and that's about it. But also, once they go public, and I think one or both of them could make it, I don't think it will be particularly fun. I don't think it will go well for investors. But I don't think that either of them have the raw riz to actually con the market. Sam Altman, I cannot be clear enough how bad it is. When he was asked on stage about the costs of AI, he was like, yeah, that's a huge issue. You can't be saying that, white baby. Like, you can't.
I mean, I guess he's honest because it is.
Yeah,
like, he's right.
But I'm not Sam Altman. I don't run OpenAI. But the thing you say there is like, yeah, there's always going to be with any new technology ways of making things more efficient, and people will measure their costs. You fumble through it in a way that makes it impossible to quote you. Instead, he's just like, yeah, that's really bad. I don't know what we're going to do about it.
It really sucks. Hate to be the guy in charge of that.
But that's the thing. That really is how he's approaching it, because historically, Sam Altman has basically said, yeah, I can't wait to see what you build with our models. Yeah, I can't wait to see how that works out. Yeah, it's really bad. The industry's going to have to work out. And it's like, Mr. Altman, you're the industry. You are this is your problem. You have to deal with this. And also just, these companies have grown to very big sizes. Anthropic allegedly will hit $10 billion in Q2 this year. OpenAI, I assume, will be in the same ballpark. It's a big deal to get there. Well done. You had to incinerate tens of billions of dollars, and you had, or to be clear, OpenAI and Anthropic, all of their data center capacity got built for them. So there's just this shadow cost of $150 billion that they just didn't have to pay. And then you look at it and you go, okay, great. How the fuck are you meant to get to 20 billion a month? Because that's what you're going to have to be by 2029 to keep up with your cost. Like that is not OpenAI projects to be at $284 billion in annual revenue in 2030, and they'll also be profitable. How? Who the fuck knows?
Hey everybody, this is Caleb. This has been a preview of a premium episode. You can find the rest, of course, at patreon.com/killthecomputer. Still about 45 minutes of this episode left. Lots of good stuff. Hope to see you over on Patreon. Thanks so much for listening. See you next time.
The computer.